Sustainable Development Goal 4 to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated this as the world marks 2021 International Day of Education. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports.
Education has been described as the foundation for expanding opportunities, transforming economies, fighting intolerance, protecting and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. When education is interrupted, it affects everyone, especially students, teachers, and families. As the world continues to battle COVID-19 pandemic, education as a fundamental right and a global public good, analysts say, must be protected to avert a generational catastrophe.
We must seize all opportunities to turn this situation around.
The UN scribe Antonio Guterres said even before the pandemic, some 258 million children and adolescents were out of school, with majority of them girls.
On the 3rd International Day of Education, I pay tribute to their resilience in the face of a pandemic that, at its peak, forced almost every school, institute and university to close its doors. Although this disruption has led to learning innovations, it has also dashed hopes of a brighter future among vulnerable populations. All of us pay the price.
United Nations wants world leaders to step up efforts to reimagine education, training of teachers, bridging the digital divide, and rethinking curricula to equip learners with the skills and knowledge to flourish in this rapidly changing world. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
In a related development, the devastating effects of COVID-19 on all spheres of human life is enormous, but education with the potential to fast-track restoration of normalcy is even worse hit, especially in poor countries where the application of technology to keep teaching and learning going is at best rudimentary. On the occasion of the 3rd United Nations International Day of Education, stakeholders are asking the world to double its investment in education as it offers the surest path to speedy development slowed down by the pandemic. Kelvin Ebonwaye reports.
It is generally believed that education is the foundation of development. However, in an era of a pandemic where education processes around the world have been disrupted, a greater attention to recover and revitalize it so that it can continue to perform its role of fast-tracking development is needed. In poor countries, where the number of out-of-school children and illiteracy are still high, coupled with poor infrastructure to support technology application, sustaining quality teaching and learning in a pandemic is a huge challenge.
As the virus is changing, as it's mutating, as it's changing its own structure, we have to, at the same time, change how do we manage our education. The infrastructure that is available in most of the Nigerian public university cannot sustain this. The private university are costing them because one, they have limited number of students. Two, they have limited number of courses. So you cannot compare that with our large universities.
The United Nations is also using this year's event to explore how education can be used to achieve global peace, a vital factor for sustainable development. Again, the school environment is believed to offer a window of possibilities for this.
We do even advise that state government could encourage the establishment of peace clubs in school where children have something to do from very tender age, knowing more about peace as they are learning. That aspect of peace must be introduced in our curriculum.
The issue of peace is a vital issue, and peace education is needed.
The theme for this year's International Day of Education is Recover and Revitalize Education for the COVID-19 Generation. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebonwaye, NTA News.
Now, to talk more on the import of International Day of Education, I have with me Babatunde Oluwajo, an education rights activist. Welcome to the news on NTA International.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Let's start this way. About 258 million children and adolescents were out of school even before the pandemic. Do you think the goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals is achievable?
I think it is achievable. No doubt the challenges are quite enormous. And it has been further compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. But I guess, if all hands are on deck, from the government, from various levels in Nigeria, from the local government to the state to the federal level, I guess we can, as Nigeria, as a country, be able to pull our weight. Because if you look at it, currently Nigeria is the capital for out-of-school children globally. And this has been further worsened again by the COVID-19 pandemic, given the fact that we are not prepared for it. Before now, even the facilities on ground were not even available, were not enough to take care of the conventional challenges facing education in Nigeria, talk less of facing the novel COVID-19 pandemic challenge. So, but I simply think these are not insurmountable. What we need is the commitment. We need the funding, as well as we need all hands. We need to collaborate from the local government to the state to the federal government level. We need to address issues of incoherence when it comes to policy. These are critical issues that we need to look at as a nation. And then, just like last year, UNESCO, a team on International Day of Education stated, education is a human right. Education is a public good. And then education is something that the state must come to recognize, not as a process for giving people a meal ticket in the name of certificate. No, education is what you give your citizens so that they become easier to rule but difficult to drive. But I doubt if our ruling class in Nigeria are interested in having a citizenry that is difficult, that is easy to rule. I think they prefer citizens that are easy to drive, and that is the challenge we have, and that's why we have had a situation where the state keeps saying they can't fund education, but globally it has been recognized as a public good, a human right, and then it's something that the state should of necessity invest in. Because if you look at our situation in Nigeria, the refusal to invest in education, we saw where it has brought us. That's why it is easy for people to be miseducated and they become extremists. It is easy for people to think that they have a right and other people don't have any right whatsoever. And I simply think, as a nation, except we continue to give, the priority education deserves for education, we may have a long way to go.
Having said these, there is no doubt that COVID-19 pandemic has led to learning innovations, especially online and teleeducation. How can these innovations be sustained to ensure that hopes of a brighter future among vulnerable population is not dashed?
Well, thank you very much. No doubt there has been a number of innovations that COVID-19 has forced on us as a nation. And please underline the word. It was forced on us as a nation in Nigeria. Not that we deliberately or consciously embrace this innovation. Because in other parts of the world where these innovations were embraced, when COVID-19 came, despite the challenges it posed, they were able to better adjust. But in a country like ours, where we never embrace any form of innovation in the educational sector, you can see the way we are running helter-skelter. Recently, you look at the opening of schools, look at the debates, even the prevarication. And the reason why those in authority, the policymakers who are prevaricating, is that they know in their heart of hearts that we are not ready. The facilities we need, the technology we need to embrace, they are not on ground. Maybe in the elite schools in the cities, some of these things may have been embraced. But if you leave the cities and you go into the hinterland, you discover that for vast majority of our citizens and our children, they don't have access. They will not have access. And even if they have access, they will be having that access at the risk of contracting COVID-19 because the basic necessities are not there. You are talking about schools that has no toilet before now, they have no water. So all of a sudden, because of COVID-19, when water just appear from nowhere, somebody has to invest in those basic fundamental infrastructure. And for majority of our schools, this is another.
Mr. Lojo,
yes, sir.
Can we take a look at some of innovations, including the latest by the federal government to give teachers some incentives to better reform the nation's educational sector? How far can these go in realizing a better education for Nigerians?
Well, I think we must commend the federal government for that. We must commend them. It is long overdue. Our teachers deserve more, even more than what the government has given now. However, we must take note that trying to, encourage the teachers, increase their salary, increase the age of retirement, while they are good, it is not an end in itself. It ought to be a means to an end. What's the point in doubling or increasing the salary of a teacher that has no classroom to teach his pupils? You increase my salary, then I go to school and my pupils are under the tree. You increase my salary, there is no basic facilities, no basic library, no laboratory, there is no toilet, there is no water, you can't maintain basic hygiene. So this must go hand in hand with other measures. And that's the only way we can realize the full benefits of some of these efforts by the federal government. And again, beyond the federal government, we still have the state government. We need to ask the question, how well and how already are they willing to embrace some of this innovation and these efforts, good efforts by the federal government of Nigeria.
Mr. Oluwaju, we'd like to thank you for coming on the news on NTA International today to also bear your mind and, of course, for a better education sector in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's move on the news. The Buhari Media Organization, BMO, says the reduction in the number of out-of-school children in the country by more than 3 million is a major achievement by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. The group in a statement says it is a major task carried out by the federal government by bringing down the figure from 10.1 million out-of-school children to 6.9 million in 1 year. BMO explains that the reduction is achieved through Ministerial Strategic Plan on Out-of-School Children, which was introduced at the onset of President Buhari's second term in office. The group also assures Nigerians that the Buhari administration will not relent in its efforts to ensure that the number of out-of-school children keeps going down. The UK identifies 77 cases of coronavirus variant first detected in South Africa. This is just as China rescues 11 miners after 14 days trapped underground.
There's a bit of a conspiracy when we talk about this vaccine, because it's not your basic vaccine. I think I read something about a messenger RNA. Basically, I don't think I can take the vaccine.
24-year-old Adamu, whose work entails meeting with different caliber of people daily, stating his stand regarding COVID-19 vaccines. He is worried at the breakneck speed of the vaccine's clinical trials and subsequent authorization to be administered on humans. While Adamu is struggling, a number of people are sure and confident. The fear and being apprehensive of taking vaccines, experts believe, could be because of the perceived risks associated with immunization from ages past. But the danger of these infectious diseases are greater than that of the vaccines. Although the coronavirus vaccine trials happened within a short period, it underwent safety trials with research on cells and animals.
All the COVID-19 vaccines that have been manufactured, and we are expecting some to arrive in Nigeria, are both effective and safe.
However, here in Kano, religious leaders are taking a more targeted approach to reach different segments of population, creating awareness and assuring people of the safety of the vaccines.
And people shouldn't be afraid, because there is no government that would invite anything that would be to the detriment of the citizenry. I believe the prayer of the leadership of Nigeria is to see to the total well-being of her citizens.
Islam permit us, or rather obligate us, to take all major precautions and protections against the spreading pandemics, whatever it occurs.
For Adamu and his likes, to overcome this hesitancy could be a huge task ahead, as he believes his diligent use of protective measures will keep him safe. But how wrong could he be? In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karai.
Our sincere apologies. That report was actually by Fatima Sanusi Karai on the conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19 vaccines, which has continued to spread, and also the use of religious leaders to combat the skepticism. You're watching the news on NTA International. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
You're welcome back from that break. And back to our earlier report, we told you that the UK has identified 77 cases of coronavirus variant first detected in South Africa, as 11 miners have been rescued after being trapped for 14 days underground. Correspondent Joyce Ometu has details.
The United Kingdom has identified 77 cases of the South African variant of COVID-19, the health minister said on Sunday, urging people to strictly follow lockdown rules as the best precaution. Matt Hancock said all 77 cases were connected to travel from South Africa and were under close observation. In New Zealand, health officials have confirmed the first case of COVID-19 in more than 2 months. A 56-year-old woman who recently returned from Europe tested positive 10 days after completing a compulsory 2 weeks in managed quarantine. She had noticed symptoms several days before getting tested. Now, people who have received a COVID-19 vaccine could still pass the virus on to others and should continue to follow lockdown rules, England's Deputy Chief Medical Officer has warned. Professor Jonathan Van Tam stressed that scientists do not know the impact of the virus on transmission. He said vaccines offers hope, but infection rates must come down quickly. Now let's take a look at the statistics. Global positive cases have surpassed 99 million, with 2.1 million fatalities on record. Now, this is just as Nigeria's total cases topped 120,000 on Saturday after recording 1,633 new infections. In the meantime, Portugal held its presidential election on Sunday, with the incumbent candidate strongly favored to win a second 5-year term as COVID-19 cases reached record levels. Voters queued up as polls opened in the Lisbon parish of Santo Antonio, guided by red stickers on the ground marking the 2-meter gap. In other news, 11 workers trapped for 2 weeks by an explosion inside a Chinese gold mine were brought safely to the surface on Sunday. State broadcasters showed miners being hauled up one by one in baskets, their eyes shielded to protect them after so many days in darkness. It is not known how many others are still alive in the mine. Meanwhile, parts of central Mozambique have been flooded after Cyclone Eloise struck near the port city of Beira. Local officials and aid agents are assessing the scale of the damage so that they can help those affected and trying to restore power and communications which were cut off in some areas. And that ends this segment. I am Joyce Ometu.
Let's move on now and tell you that the rate at which some silent killer diseases is leading to the death of people is now a source of concern to medical experts. Experts say some of these ailments that are usually overlooked by the average Nigerian are stacking up alarming death toll across the country. Chidiebere Onya interfaced with some medical experts on ways these diseases can be detected and its possible management.
Various reports and research have shown that more people die each year from hepatitis B, high blood pressure, diabetes, fatty liver disease, osteoporosis, coronary artery disease, obstructive sleeping apnea, and some other diseases which are on the silent killers list in Nigeria. More worrisome is that the number of people affected keep rising due to what experts tagged nonchalant attitude towards comprehensive and routine medical checkups by some Nigerians.
When you get to the hospital, sit down and have a nurse or a doctor check your blood pressure, do a simple blood sugar test when you wake up in the morning without eating or drinking anything.
Every other chronic condition that people carry without even understanding.
Sadly, many people are wallowing in a knowledge gap of some of these silent killer diseases, while those who are aware often neglect to give it the attention it deserves.
I check myself from time to time. I even run the computer checkup. I go for a medical checkup.
We use the body every day just like we use our cars. So just the same way you do with your cars, you go for regular checkup.
Going by the popular saying that prevention is better than cure, medical experts maintain that regular health examination can help detect health problems before they become complicated and sometimes untreatable. In Port Harcourt, Chidiebere Onyea, NTA News.
Lawmakers have been enjoined to imbibe the all-hands-on-deck approach to tackle the socio-economic downturn in the country. This will not only provide qualitative representation, but also uplift members of the communities affected by the economy. This is the agreed new norm of APC chieftains, members and office holders at an empowerment program of Senator Teslim Folari in Ibadan. Lanre Bilei has details.
The program seeks to empower 1,200 members of Oyo Central Senatorial District, and for the federal lawmaker, socio-economic empowerment of women, youth, and at the grassroots needs a collective approach.
I think it's only right that you give back, and that is what we're doing.
Joining him in flagging off the program are APC party leaders in the Southwest and National Assembly members.
And whatever you can do to alleviate the suffering of the people should not be something that should cost you anything.
We are elected to make law for the good governance of this nation. But with the present situation of the nation, you can use your office to at least talk to many agencies who are in shadow with the responsibility of empowering people.
Even in the best of economics, empowerment still remains a key for people struggling socio-economically to be able to stand on their 2 feet. And that is the aim of this program, to empower a lot of people with tools they need in their socio-economic pursuits.
118 wards in Oyo Central and consists of 11 local governments. So across the wards, we are going to distribute all this message to them, to the beneficiaries.
Anyone that gets this kind of thing, that have an opportunity to benefit from this kind of empowerment, will be able to take care of their family in their own way.
Items distributed include cars, vulcanizing machines, motorcycles, sewing machines, barbing tools, just to mention a few. In Ibadan, Lanre Bilei, NTA News.
The Directorate of Defense Media Operations, DMO, says the air component of Operation Thunder Strike has neutralized several armed bandits at Chikwali Forest of Chikun local government area in Kaduna State. DMO Coordinator Major General John Enenche says the operation was executed on 23rd January 2021, sequel to credible intelligence reports indicating the significant presence of armed bandits in the area, which is about 20 kilometers west of the Kaduna-Abuja highway. Following confirmatory aerial surveillance mission, Nigerian Air Force fighter jets and helicopter gunships attacked the location, and the bandits were seen firing at the attack helicopter as it struck them. Several bandits were accordingly neutralized in the airstrikes, while some escaped with various degrees of injuries. Meanwhile, area surveillance mission have been intensified in coordination with ground troops to locate the fleeing bandits. President Muhammadu Buhari is commiserating with the government and people of Abia State on the passing of the traditional head of Ungwa land, Eze Bernard Enweremadu Ezuku of Ugwauku. In a statement, the president recognizes the immense contributions of the revered royal father to the development of his community during his reign of 44 years. He described the deceased as a leader who cared so much for his people, the unity and prosperity of his country. President Buhari notes that Eze Enweremadu will be remembered for his vibrant leadership, wisdom and courage, praying that the soul of the royal father rests in peace. Now let's take a look at sports, because match day 6 of the Nigeria Professional Football League is still ongoing after 6 matches were decided on Sunday. Heartland of Owerri beat Akwa United by 2-1, while Dakada also beat FC won by 1-0. Warri Wolves lost at home to visiting Nasarawa United of Lafia by 1-2, while Rangers and Lobby Stars of Makudi drew goalless, despite Lobby Stars finishing the game with 10 men. Matches continue on Monday with Adamawa United taking on Enimba in a match that will be live on the NTA Sports channel, while the match that is slated for 4 p.m. will be on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time now for the weather prospects for Nigeria and other cities of the world. And that is the news on NTA International. Remember to always connect with NTA to stand against rape and rapists, to be a star. I'm Ayodeji Makinde.